What's going on, Misfits family, here on a beautiful Monday night? I'm in Los Angeles, and it's your host, Jude Reynolds Ocanas, here for the 13th edition of the Reynolds Sports Report. And I got to start with some breaking news that we had today, and my thoughts and prayers go out to the Sanders family, and Deion Sanders up first most, who just recently announced this morning that he is officially cancer-free after a short battle with bladder cancer that was quickly removed, and he got it removed just recently by members of UC Health in Boulder. And just I think I start with this because I have family right now going through similar just health battles and overall. And I think it's important when you see storylines like this to remember that even if you're Deion Sanders or you're Jude Ocanas or whoever you are listening or watching, your health matters the utmost. That's right. Mental health and your personal health and physical health, I should say, matter the most. And so it's stories like this that, take you and your loved ones to remind you, say, maybe it's time for me to get checked up. Even if you don't think it's anything, even if there is nothing, it's better to be safe than sorry. So like I said, my thoughts and prayers go to Deion Sanders, the family, Shador, and the rest of his kids. And you see like stories like this, and you're glad that there are people in this world that can be life changers, and especially the ones right now that are UC Health and making the difference and now have the ability to make a guy like Deion Sanders cancer free. So I really wanted to start with that because I think before sports, health is the most important thing. And those stories like that are true reminders. And to kind of carry on to that note, but a little more sadder news when it comes to physical health of one 5-star freshman, Elijah Ocanas. USC got some tough news last week as their only 5-star in their 2025 recruiting class is going to miss the next 6 to 8 weeks, or 6 to 8 months, I should say, with a torn MCL. And this just comes after a tough couple of months for Elijah Ocanas, originally from Chatsworth High School, son of, former NBA player and one of the NBA greats, Gilbert Arenas, who played for, the Wizards for a long time. But it's the sadness only hurts more because of the car accident that he got back in April, where he was put into a medical induced coma for about 6 days. Didn't really know if he was even going to practice with the team. And so then this kind of snowball effect of now he's going to be done for a pretty substantial part of this college basketball season is a tough blow for not just Elijah Ocanas, but USC men's basketball, who is looking to potentially get something out of this star freshman, heading into their 2025-2026 season and their second season in the Big Ten. But let's start on the Elijah Ocanas part of there is no information on exactly how he tore his MCL, whether it was basketball related or not, whether it was during a practice, training, or whatever it may be. There's not many details on that. And as someone that has covered USC basketball personally for the past 2-3 years, I can tell you that USC is really not going to let that information get out. I mean, I have covered men's basketball at least the past 2 seasons. And when Bronny James dealt with cardiac arrest or when players would get injured, it's really hard to learn much about anything, right? You have great journalists, like one specifically, like a Luca Evans, who's not anymore part of the Orange County Register, but he did a great job in detailing the whole story that Bronny James went through. But there's really not that much access to how these injuries happen. So first and foremost, it's devastating to hear that a guy like Elijah Ocanas, or, someone as young as Elijah Ocanas, just coming out of his, high school season where he was a McDonald's All-American. He left Chatsworth as the all-time leading scorer with 3,000 points to start his college career like this. But I will say on the USC men's basketball side, and this is not to take away from Ocanas' skill or even Jerry Easter, who's the other recruit from the 2025 recruiting class, I don't see it as a huge blow to the current team at this moment, right? I mean, Eric Musselman's going to enter his second year with USC men's basketball. And the more you see this team, the way it's built, it's another year of transfers, right? There's 9 total transfers on this year's team. And I think in large part, it's tough right now for Eric Musselman to really build out a recruiting class, which, to be honest, is something he's going to have to start to do, right? We got his first year. We said, you came in the offseason. We're going to excuse it. You bring in the transfers you want. He's now brought that over into the second year. Now, granted, this second year transfer class that he's brought in guys like Rodney Rice, a few other, higher level Division I guys, and another, Chad Baker, from Auburn, a stretch 4. He's brought in a lot more high-profile transfers this year, considering, Maryland, Auburn. And there's definitely a lot more size. There's definitely a lot more guard play that we're going to see. But I think overall, when you look at this Arenas injury and where it kind of fits into where's USC men's basketball heading in 2025, it's not that big of a blow. I think Arenas was going to come off the bench one way or another. I just think it really stunts the development that we wanted to see from Arenas. And I always looked at Arenas as a 2-year project, right? I thought he was a really fantastic player at Chatsworth, an absolute flamethrower of a scorer, and he could do it all with the ball. But I didn't really see it project to the next level so instantaneously. And so I think this freshman year would have been a perfect opportunity behind a guy like Rodney Rice, who's coming from Maryland, has a little bit more of, college experience under his belt as a way of teaching him. Not that he can't teach him while Arenas is injured, but to have that true game experience as a freshman and then hopefully come in your sophomore year, a lot more experience, had played a lot more minutes in college basketball. But at the end of the day, I think Arenas is going to get back. This is, torn MCL is terrible, and anything with the knees, especially as a basketball player, is so vital. I've sprained my knee before, and I know how that can impact even just me playing intramural basketball. And intramural basketball is not even close to Division I basketball. So I can only imagine what a torn MCL is going to take for Elijah Arenas to build back. But we've seen him build back strong from what was the, medically induced coma just pretty much at this point 3-4 months ago back in April. So I have no doubt that he is going to be fine. But I think it kind of brings me to the question, is USC men's basketball cursed? And I know I'm completely throwing it, 360 right here, but it's now becoming a trend. And it's not a trend that USC should be proud of, because it's actually getting too scary of a trend, right? So Elijah Arenas in 2025, he's obviously dealing with a car accident and now has this knee injury. But this isn't the first time there's been a freak accident with a USC men's basketball player. And I should specifically say freshman men's basketball player. Bronny James, 2023, went into a cardiac arrest during summer workouts, just days in his first few with USC men's basketball. And then 2022, Vince Iwachukwu, similar situation, went into cardiac arrest during a summer workout. He collapsed just 45 minutes into practice. So I'm not trying to pull up a whole conspiracy right here, because there's plenty more to go deeper into, but this is a weird trend that I'm starting to notice with USC men's basketball. And it's a trend I certainly don't want to continue, because I don't want to scare away the future basketball recruits that could potentially come to USC, whether it's on the women's or men's side, of saying, hey, come to our beautiful school here in Southern California, but you might get injured and you might have to deal with that. Because I don't want that on the record for USC men's basketball. But it's a weird trend, guys. Like I can't. You can't turn a blind eye to it at this point, because one time it's a coincidence, 2 times you're like maybe a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern, right? 3 times is a pattern, right? 2 times same injury, you're thinking, okay, that's just a crazy coincidence. 3rd time, yeah, you're like, okay, well, we should probably be worried about this a little bit. But all in all, I think Elijah Arenas is going to recover perfectly. I think he'll be fine. The doctors here at USC at Keck Medicine, if that's where he's going to choose to do his treatment, they're fantastic. So I have no concerns when it comes to the recovery process. It just does hurt to see a guy like this that was so highly touted out of high school in his first few weeks have to go through multiple, health scares. And now this kind of leads him to miss a good portion of the season. So my thoughts and prayers go to a guy like Elijah Arenas. I think he will have some impact for USC men's basketball whenever that time comes. But for right now, obviously his health and just getting better is the most important part. But what else is getting better is this NFL season, guys. The NFL season is right here. You can almost smell it. We have an NFL game this week, the Hall of Fame game. And boy, I cannot be more excited, right? Not the fact that it's a Hall of Fame game, because the Hall of Fame game, to be fair, is you watch the starters for maybe one drive offensively and then they're gone. So it's not really to see the stars out on the Hall of Fame game. It's just the fact we have NFL football back. And I probably say this every year. Every NFL fan probably says this every year. But it just every year, you just have this like long gap in your life of like, man, what do I do? What do I do? And fortunately enough, I've kept busy this summer, so it hasn't always been that bad of every day waking up saying it's one day closer to NFL football. But truly, it does feel like that at this point, because NFL training camp is in full swing. We're in week 2 for most NFL teams. But I want to talk about this, because last time I came on the show, we talked about who was the 5th best quarterback heading into the NFL season. And a lot of you guys disagreed. I saw some Justin Herberts, I saw some Jalen Hurts. And like I said, those were all great choices. I just think at this moment in time, Jaden Daniels is the 5th best quarterback, right? I mean, what he did, he led the Commanders to their best record since 1992. 1992, I wasn't even born. I wasn't even a thought, okay? I wasn't even a thought in 1992. That's how bad the Commanders have been for that long. And Jaden Daniels, in one season, was able to turn that all around and send them to an NFC Championship game. Another thing, my personal team, the Dallas Cowboys, have not done in my lifetime. So Jaden Daniels is certainly the 5th best quarterback in the NFL, considering also the weapons and everything he has to work with such a sloppy organization. But I'm not here more to rant about Jaden Daniels. I'm here to talk about who are the best 5 receiver duos in the NFL. And I have to say, I had a lot of fun with this one. Like this one, I meant to do a show last Thursday, but I really wanted to get this down for you guys because I really wanted to really solidify this 5 best. Now, this is not, and I will clarify, this is heading into 2025 season. Okay, this is not who has been the best receiver duo, for the past 5 years, because this list would be obviously very different. So before I get into the top 5, I'll give some honorable mentions, and this might help to see, okay, who's probably going to be on this list. So number 1 is Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams of the Detroit Lions. That is one honorable mention. Number 2 honorable mention is Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. They've been really good, but they've also not been great consistently. Now, this one is an honorable mention, but it's also number 6. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I think when you talk about consistency and when you talk about playmakers, both of those dudes are it. They're Super Bowl champs. They're all pros. And they're truly every year always in the conversation for some of the best duos. The reason they stay off my list this year, and I need to preface this because obviously Mike Evans, he's now had 11 straight years of 1,000 yards, right? I mean, that is incredible. He's a future Hall of Famer on itself. The reason I take them off the list, and you'll see the other names that I'm going to come up with, but Chris Godwin's not guaranteed to play this season, right? Like, I mean, when I say guaranteed, he's not guaranteed to start this season. Now, he might, but I also think there is a rookie in Tampa Bay by the name of Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State that is going to see a large target share in that offense this year. And so with those two kind of facts, when you put them together, I say, I really do like Chris Godwin, but it's hard for me to call it that's the best duo when I do think there is that third guy that's going to come in. And I've seen Baker Mayfield's press interviews during training camp, even before that for OTAs. He really likes this Egbuka kid. Like, I mean, there is high praise among the coaching staff. I see Egbuka having an impact very early, and I could almost see it of him having similar target share to a guy like Chris Godwin, who's going to be coming off an injury that he suffered in week 7, right, where he dislocated his left ankle. So to preface that, but let's get into the big boys. Let's get who is number 5. Now, number 5 is going to be Puka Nacua and Devonta Adams. And this is going to be a fun one to watch, right, because you kind of have, you have the master and the Padawan, right? That's kind of how it goes with this. And Puka, he's already made a name for himself, but Adams is a true vet of vets, right? Last year, he played for 2 different teams. He played for Vegas and he played for the Jets. But Adams, we know he's been doing this. He's had 5 straight seasons of 1,000 yards and eight receiving touchdowns. And he's really done this with bad quarterback play, especially in the past 2 years. 2023, he had Derek Carr. 2024, he was doing it with Aiden O'Connell. And then obviously he paired up with his buddy Aaron Rodgers. But I think at number 5, it's Puka and Adams. And Puka, he's only in year 2, and he was, second in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting in 2023. He's consistently a strong player in these past 2 seasons. He's very strong at the point of catch. His route running obviously could use a little improvement, but he's really blossomed into that number 1 role with, we saw Cooper Kupp kind of take a decreased role in 2024. In 2023, obviously, Puka really splashed onto the scene, right? He led, rookie. He basically was 3rd in most receptions in rookie seasons at 105 for pretty much 2 years until Malik Neighbors and Brock Bowers came in and took that spot. But I think at number 5, this is exciting because Adams, obviously, he's not in the prime of prime when he was in Green Bay. And Puka Nacua is just coming into that. And I think that's almost a perfect pairing. And it'll be a lot of fun. I mean, we're going to see both of them with Matthew Stafford. If he could stay healthy, this is a Rams team that could make some noise in the postseason. And at number 4, This is going to be controversial to some maybe, but I think Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are the fourth best receiving duo. Now, instantly you see the name Justin Jefferson and you think that should be number one. That should be number one. And I'll tell you this, Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the NFL. And I'm not going to say it's not close because his buddy in LSU, former LSU player, or teammate, I should say, Jamar Chase, pretty much just tore up the NFL last year and got offensive player of the year. So I'm not saying it's by a landslide that Justin Jefferson, but we know that Justin Jefferson consistently has been always one of the best receivers. He's had 5 straight 1,000 yards receiving yards to start his NFL career. But I say that they are number 4 because this is a duo. This is not a single player. And Jordan Addison, as much as I do love Jordan Addison, and he's a great player, he still has not found the true consistency yet as a number 2, right? Last year, he had 875 receiving yards on 63 receptions. He has not hit the 1,000-yard mark in either of his 2 seasons, but they are number 4 because of the type of weight that Jefferson pulls, right? I mean, he was Rookie of the Year in 2022. He's already a 2-time All-Pro. He was a 2022 Offensive Player of the Year. Like, he's already done it all in just 5 years, and he's probably already put his name in a Hall of Fame ballot somewhere. But I think with just the way that Addison has yet to grow, but there is talent. I'm not saying that Addison isn't talented, but I think where Addison can grow, they can only move up. But I think Jefferson really pulls the weight, and that's why they're at number 4 for me. Now, number 3 is A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Now, they're both coming off, obviously, Super Bowls with the Eagles, and they work very well together, right? A.J. Brown is your prototypical X receiver. He is a guy, he's your vertical threat downfield. He's great on 50-50 balls. In fact, he actually had a 10.5% above average catch rate, catch rate over expected was plus 10.5% in tight windows throw. I know I'm throwing a lot of stats at you, but in, pretty easy English, that just means he's extremely good at 50-50 balls, and he's winning at a high rate of those 50-50 balls. And that's what makes such a good X receiver, someone that can go up and get it, someone that you can trust in those situations. And then he pairs it with a Devontae Smith, right? A guy that's a very great route runner, great after the catch, someone that's very, slice and dice, right? He's not going to get you, he's not going to truck someone, but he has the speed to get through someone or get by someone. Now, Devontae Smith, though, has dealt with injuries. He only had 833 receiving yards this year, but he only played 13 games. But he had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2022 and 2023. And I put them over Jefferson and Addison for the fact that I think both of those guys have shown what they can be as a pairing, and they've succeeded in that role, right? In 2022 and 2023, both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith had 1,000 yards. So there is experience with this duo. We've seen it before. We know what they can do. In fact, they just won a Super Bowl, but they're not number 2 because that spot is left to CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Now, I know, say what you want to say, but this truly is the second best receiving duo. And look, I know I talked about it with Smith and Brown. They have the experience together. And sure, CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens are going to come into their first season not playing a single game until that first snap on Thursday night when they play the Eagles. So truly, we're going to see 2 of these duos that I've picked top 3 to go against each other in week 1, which is going to be fantastic to see. But I'll start with this. I think, and I think I have to compare 2 and 3 to understand. CeeDee Lamb, in my mind, is a better number 1 receiver than A.J. Brown. So to me, that already has the pedigree. I mean, CeeDee Lamb has come in. He has had 4 straight seasons of 1,000-yard ball. He finished second in receiving yards with 17,449 back in 2023. But here's where I really, I think with QBs, are you QB proof? Right? I think that's a big word that I haven't really used with a lot of these guys, right? Are you QB proof? Can you basically succeed even if you don't have your star quarterback throwing you the ball every time? And CeeDee Lamb has certainly shown that. He only played 8 games with Dak in 2024. He played 12 in 2023. So he's shown that he can win with a guy like Cooper Rush, Will Grier, other guys like Andy Dalton. Like he's shown that at this level. And as a number 1, that is what's the most important thing. Like, you got to produce no matter who is throwing you the ball. And that goes same with Devontae Adams. We've seen it in Vegas. He did that. So CeeDee Lamb already, I think, is one of the best receivers in the NFL. But I think you add on the fact that Pickens is that X threat, right? I think CeeDee Lamb is very much that Z receiver, while Pickens is that X, right? He's the good 50-50 ball winner. He's been the primary number one receiver his whole time in Pittsburgh, and he shined. Now, here's the thing with Pickens, though. It's consistency. So this isn't a number one because Pickens has yet to show full consistency. He's only had 1,000 yards. But this is another guy that truthfully has not had good quarterback play. I mean, he's played with Mason Rudolph. He's played with Justin Fields. He's played with Russell Wilson. He also has not had consistency at the quarterback position, and yet he's still dominated. In 2023, he led the league in yards per reception at 18.1. So I think when you pair those together, I think Lamb and Pickens just outweigh Brown and Smith, because I'm going to go off the potential a little bit. In 2025, they're both going to have Dak Prescott throwing them. And say what you want about Dak Prescott, but he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I'm not going to go as far as saying top 5, but he's one of the best quarterbacks. And that's going to help a guy like Pickens who hasn't had that consistency. And I don't need to say that we've already seen what Lamb can do when he has good quarterback play, or even if he doesn't, right? Like, even if he doesn't have good quarterback play, he's still able to put up those crazy numbers like he did in 2022 or even 2023, 2024 when he didn't have that consistent quarterback play. But I think lastly, this should be obvious if you've been, tracking who's still available. Well, I think it's simple. That is Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins. This goes into that of we've seen it, we know what they can do, and they've produced. They had 27 total touchdowns between them receiving wise. And Ja'Marr Chase, he was offensive player of this year. I mean, he led the league in receptions, yards, touchdowns, yards per game. He had 175 total targets. He's had 4 straight 1,000 yards since he's joined as a rookie. And Chase is really your queen on the chessboard, right? He can do it all. If you want him to go, down the field on a fly route, like he can do that. If you want him to route run, he could do that. If you want to truck someone, he can do that. Chase is your prototypical receiver that you want. And then Higgins is just a really strong pairing of that X receiver that I've talked about, someone that doesn't go up and get it. Now, he's battled injuries a little bit more than you probably like, and he hasn't stayed as healthy. But certainly it helps that he's had 2 years of 1,000-yard ball. Both have also been when Ja'Marr Chase was on the team in 2021 and 2022. So there is that consistency. There's experience that we've seen with both Chase and Higgins. And like I said, the bread is in the pudding. We've seen it now 4 years in a row with both of them. There's no doubt in my mind that they are the best receiver duo. And look, obviously, does it help that they have Joe Burrow? 100%. But I didn't want this to be they have this quarterback, so they should be lower on the list. No, they still produce. I mean, if you're in the NFL and you're starting quarterback, you're good enough. So, I mean, if you are still producing. I just think the conversation of QB proof is certainly a valuable one because, if you're doing it with a third string and you're still putting up really good numbers and on a not accurate ball all the time, it's even more impressive. But I think Chase and Higgins have certainly solidified themselves as the best receiver duo heading into the 2025 season. Now, someone that has established themselves as the best for pretty much almost more than half a decade at this point is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs have put on show after show after show. They have 3 Super Bowls and 5 appearances in the last 7 years. So the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be the team that we always think about. Can they be dethroned, right? Can this be a team that one season we finally see the Bills, the Ravens, or some other team come out and hopefully dethrone them? And recently, no team has been able to do it. The Chiefs last year finished 15-2. And, the Chiefs are one of those fascinating teams. And it's great because the next show that you guys are going to catch here on the Misfits is the Mikhail Matthew show. Shout out to my guy. Just great stuff. He's also a big Chiefs fan. So he will tell you, he laughs at all this stuff probably. He probably hears it and says, well, I mean, who's really going to dethrone the Chiefs? And truthfully, it's honest. Like, I mean, who is really going to dethrone the Chiefs? Because at this point, it's like Tom Brady and the Patriots. Like, you can think that someone's going to dethrone them, but in reality, no one's actually going to really touch them, right? But I'm going to list 3 teams that I think have the potential to do that. I think there are 3 teams this year that can do that. And number 1 is the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills last year finished 13-4, and actually they were eliminated in the AFC Championship game by the Kansas City Chiefs, 32-29. And what was just one of those another typical games where the Bills had them and then they blew it. And, the Bills in the last 5 years are 0-4 versus the Chiefs in the playoffs. 3 of those games have been just decided by 1 score. So there is history between these two teams. We know that the Bills can match the Chiefs level, but they can never finish the job, right? It almost sounds like we're talking about the Bills in the 90s, right? With Jim Kelly. They couldn't finish the job against the Dallas Cowboys in the Super Bowl, but at least they were making the Super Bowl, right? At least they were coming out of the AFC. The Bills have just struggled right now to come out of the AFC. So I think you got to put the Bills on this list because they are now having their highly paid 6-year, $330 million deal to their MVP, Josh Allen, who is a one-man show at times. I mean, he truly is a wrecking ball in every sense. He has the arm that he can throw for 100 yards. He has the body of a Derrick Henry or a really strong running back that can run through a brick wall. He really can do it all. But I think for this Bills team to take it to the next level, which is crazy because when you say the next level, it's really just like when the Chiefs can just win one more possession. Because that's really what it's been. It hasn't been, the Chiefs have dominated the Bills. No, it's just they haven't been able to win those one possession games here and there. The Bills are really going to need Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir to step up big time. And I really think Keon Coleman's going to have to be the biggest one of them all because they need receiving help, right? This was the same conversation we've had for years with Lamar Jackson of saying Lamar Jackson is one of the most talented quarterbacks, if not the most talented quarterback in the NFL. But we need him to have receivers. And Josh Allen's kind of now in that same situation, right? He threw 3,701 yards last year. He had 28 passing touchdowns. He had a 63.6 completion percentage. But he did that all with not even a true number one. And we're going into this season next year where the Buffalo Bills really didn't do much to address that need, right? They signed Joshua Palmer in the offseason, but they haven't really brought in a true number one. So you're going to need a guy like Keon Coleman to certainly step up. So will he do it? I don't know, right? That's the big question. Will he become a better route runner? The summer work is going to have to show in, when the first snap is done in September. But I think the Bills are obviously going to be in the conversation every year because we know what they're going to do. They are going to win the AFC East, right? The Patriots might be a little bit better this year. The Jets, whatever. Miami's going to put up a 9-win season, but we know they will be there. So they have to be in the conversation. But for the Bills at this point, it's just, can you throw the last punch? That's it. I mean, you've gotten to the big game. Now you've just got to finish. And especially against a guy like Patrick Mahomes and a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, every possession matters and you almost have to play perfect football. So will the Buffalo Bills do it this year? That's up to them. Now, number 2 is the Baltimore Ravens. And the Baltimore Ravens are another team that are always in this conversation, right? Can they dethrone the Chiefs? And now they haven't had as much playoff history. They've only faced off one time in the Mahomes and Jackson era. And though the Chiefs are 1-0 and they're a lot stronger of an opponent. And really, you watch that game, it was a 27-20 win in Baltimore, I may add. So that was a real chance right there for the Ravens to really take a win. And their offense just didn't show up. Now, what I really do like what the Ravens have done this offseason is said, you know what, we're going to bring in a veteran presence. We are going to bring in, we understand we have 2 young guys at receiving core that in Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers who have really good talent. Now we're going to bring in DeAndre Hopkins. Now, you're probably screaming at the screen right now and saying, Jude, DeAndre Hopkins, man. Like, we're not Texan DeAndre Hopkins. We're not even Arizona Cardinals DeAndre Hopkins. We're Tennessee Titans DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to DeAndre Hopkins because he is a first ballot, if not just a Hall of Famer. But I do think that added veteran presence of a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, when you don't need DeAndre Hopkins to be a number one. Like, I'm not asking DeAndre Hopkins to come in and say, oh, you need to be a number one talent. You just need to be, usable and sustainable for a whole 17-game season and then some to pair along Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers, who we know Zay Flowers with his speed, Rashad Bateman with his great catching ability at times. So I think the Ravens are always going to be in the conversation once again, like they are with the Bills. But I think the Ravens probably have a better chance just because we know what their rushing attack can be. I mean, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson made up for 88% of the rushing yards for the Baltimore Ravens in 2024. And they also led the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens, that team, in rushing yards. So that tandem of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson has worked out beautifully in just the 1 year so far in Baltimore. But I think this team has the ability to do it. And it's the same with the Bills. They both have the ability to do it. They just have to win those one possession games. They just have to throw the final punch. And they have the quarterbacks to do it. They certainly have the quarterbacks to do it. They just can't choke. Lamar Jackson has already choked one too many times versus the Chiefs. Josh Allen, he's given it his all. It's really his defense that has just been susceptible to big-time throws in the last moments of very important games. So both guys have the ability to dethrone Patrick Mahomes, but I really do think at the end of the day, neither of those teams are probably going to be able to do it unless they can throw the last punch. Now, lastly, I'll throw it to this. The Denver Broncos have a chance to do it. And I think the Denver Broncos, I might give them a decent chance to do it because they see this team twice a year. And you know what they say? It's always harder to beat a team a second time or a third time. So the Denver Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs are going to face off at least 2 times in the regular season, and then they might face off in the playoffs. And I think if there's any team that upgraded their team the most, it is the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos said, okay, offensively, we have a good offensive line. Bo Nix showed a lot of strides as a rookie. We got, Cortland Sutton, who's been really good, of a few other receivers that really stepped up when we didn't know if they were going to. But what I really love what the Broncos did is said, you know what, offensively, we can try to stay with the Chiefs, but we are going to have to stop them. That's what the Broncos said. They said, you know what, our offense, if we can score 17, 20 points, we might win a game if our defense can just completely shut down Patrick Mahomes. This was already a top 10 defense last year, but they said, we're not satisfied. They said, we need to evolve. So what did they do? They pulled 2 of San Francisco 49ers' best defensive players, Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. Those were 2 of the primary players, both safety and linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, they've had injury concerns, but they said, you know what were our 2 weak positions? Safety and linebacker. So they addressed those needs. And we forget that they also had Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain. This team they had 15 interceptions last year. They ranked 7th in total turnovers with 25. I think the Broncos' philosophy next year is saying, you know what? We're not going to be able to match you offensively, so we're just going to have to stop you. We're just going to have to stop you. And we did that. We're going to get some guys free agency. They got a really good, promising young rookie from Texas at the safety position. So they said, we are going to try to stop you defensively so we don't got to go into a shootout of a 35-36 game. Because you know what? Honestly, we don't got the offense to compete with the Patrick Mahomes. We don't have a Patrick Mahomes on our side. We don't have a Travis Kelce on our side. So we're just going to try to stop you, hold you to as little points as possible, and we just got to score a few touchdowns and we could beat you. So I think the Broncos, Ravens, Bills are probably, in my opinion, the 3 best teams that have the odds of dethroning the Kansas City Chiefs. And I would probably right now give the Baltimore Ravens the best chance to do it. I'd give the Baltimore Ravens the best chance to do it because we've seen what Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson can be. If this defense can improve in the passing situations, they have a really strong front 7. And honestly, I think dynamically, Lamar Jackson is the toughest quarterback to take down. And if they're playing, that game of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and I really just think you just got to run it down their throat. That's what you got to do. You got to play some playoff football in cold December games because that's how you're going to win it. The Philadelphia Eagles did it, and look what happened. So moving to my last, and this is a fun segment because I've been ranking quarterbacks. I've been ranking receiver duos. I've been saying who's going to dethrone the Chiefs. But this is lastly, and this is close to my heart. The Indiana Fever and Stranger Things did one of the coolest things I'd seen, and I'll pull it up so you guys can see it yourself. But look at this jersey. Look at this jersey. Holy cow. Okay, when I saw this jersey, I said, my God, I might need to cop it. Now, obviously, I have not copped it. I'm not wearing it. I'm just wearing a black tee. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. I wish I had it. So actually, you should worry. I'm not feeling good because I don't have it on me right now. But that's not the point. When I saw this jersey, guys, and I don't know about you guys, I'm personally a big Stranger Things fan. I absolutely love Stranger Things. And I'm excited for season 5, even though I do think they probably should have ended after season 4. But that is neither here nor there. When I saw this collab, it was beautiful. So actually, they first introduced these jerseys in 2021. And look, like I said, I love everything about Stranger Things. The aesthetic of the show, kind of shot in the 80s. I think the storyline has been great. It's followed very well. There's a lot more character development that we've seen in most recent seasons. Stranger Things as a show is really cool. And the fact that the Indiana Fever were able to do this, because the show takes place in Hawkins, Indiana. Indiana. And let me show you one more time. Just so you know, like, look at this. The font is the Stranger Things font, which is probably at this point one of the most iconic fonts that we see. Like, that Indiana Fever, the Stranger Things, intro every time. The jersey had, Demogorgon claw accents behind it. And then lastly, actually on the waistband, they had the numbers 0011 for obviously 11, who's kind of the main character. I just thought we need to see more collaborations like this. And they nailed it, right? Like they absolutely nailed this jersey. My only advice, and you can call me. You guys can call me if you need help on this. Let's design the court next time. So they debuted these versus the Las Vegas Aces on July 24th. They're going to wear them 6 more home games this season and 1 road game. I want to start a petition. I really do. That if you wear these jerseys, you should also have a customized court. You know how the NBA, if the Grizzlies wear their throwbacks, or, obviously kind of with the, playing tournament, they design the court. But I'm just saying, you have an opportunity like this with a jersey like this. You are missing out on a keen opportunity to do the court like the upside down of Hawkins. Like I could already design it for you. I have ideas going through my head like crazy. So just give me a chance. Give me a call, Indiana. I will help you out, but you do need to design the court, because the court with jerseys like this would be extremely tough. Extremely tough. I'm not even going to lie with you. But that's been it here for the Reynolds Sports Report here. I've been your host, Jude Reynolds Ocanas. But look, don't go anywhere. Stay on this channel, The Misfits. The Mikel Matthews Show is coming up next. Tap in with that. Because look, we do all great stuff here on The Misfits. It's not just me. We got Elam, Mikel Matthew. We got the Professional Haters Association with Daniel, Ethan, and Tony. All these guys, we're just trying to make it as aspiring journalists, because we are already journalists. We're just trying to take it to the next level. And that's what, the Denver Broncos, the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens are trying to do versus the Kansas City Chiefs. But I'm only joking, yeah. But thank you guys so much for joining me here on today's podcast. And I will see you guys around the corner on Thursday. But it has been real. I've been your host, Jude Reynolds Ocanas. And as always, stay good and have a good Monday night. I'll see you guys later.